Let's talk about an empire that was, for 1,000 years, the center of the known world. An empire that's now a ghost, haunting the streets of modern Istanbul. This is the story of the Byzantine Empire, a tale of insane resilience, a shocking betrayal, and a legacy that, you might be surprised to learn, quietly shapes the world we live in right now. But you know what? We're not going to start at the beginning. We're going to start near the end. I want you to picture it. The year is 1852. A French writer is wandering around the edge of Istanbul, and he stumbles upon this scene of, well, just profound, beautiful decay. What he's looking at are the legendary walls of Constantinople. These were once the greatest fortifications on the entire planet. And now? They're just crumbling, overgrown with ivy and fig trees. They're a silent, powerful monument to a forgotten superpower. It's an image that just sticks with you. And seeing that, well, it just begs the question, right? How on earth did this happen? How could the direct heir to the Roman Empire, a fortress city that lasted for more than a millennium, just crumble into a pile of ruins? To figure that out, we've got to go way back, all the way to the beginning. Okay, let's rewind the clock. We're going back over 1,500 years to a moment when the Roman world was in a full-blown crisis, and a new center of power was about to explode onto the scene. So the Western Roman Empire, it's getting hammered by civil wars and disease. So in 285, the Emperor Diocletian makes this radical call. He literally splits the empire in two. A little while later, Emperor Constantine reunites it, but he makes a choice that changes history. He establishes a brand new capital in the east. And just 80 years after that, the city of Rome itself is sacked. That kind of sealed the deal. The future was in the east. And why this specific spot? Well, the location Constantine chose was nothing short of strategic genius. It sits right at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, so it controls all the major trade routes. It's got this amazing natural harbor called the Golden Horn. And best of all, it's a peninsula, protected by water on 3 sides. I mean, the place was practically built by nature to be a fortress. And make no mistake, this wasn't just some new administrative center. He called it Nova Roma, the new Rome. The ambition was off the charts. Constantine filled it with enormous palaces, a new senate, a massive hippodrome for chariot races, huge public baths. The message was crystal clear. This city wasn't built to just match Rome. It was built to be better. And this new city, this new Rome, would become the heart of an empire that was defined by one thing above pretty much anything else: its unbelievable ability to survive. Just take a second to think about that number. 1,123 years. From its founding to its final fall, that's how long the Byzantine Empire lasted. It outlived the Western Roman Empire by a full millennium. That is just staggering. So how did they do it? Well, they had some legendary defenses. The Theodosian walls were a triple-layered masterpiece of military engineering that no army could get through for 1,000 years. A gigantic iron chain was stretched across the harbor to block any enemy ships, and if you got past all that, you had to face Greek fire, a terrifying, mysterious chemical weapon, kind of like ancient napalm, that could burn even on water. For centuries, Constantinople wasn't just tough, it was seen as literally unconquerable. You can just imagine what it was like for visitors. A Russian traveler at the time put it perfectly. He said it was like walking into a giant forest. You'd get completely lost. And he was right. At its peak, this was the biggest, richest, most sophisticated city in the medieval world. It was a dazzling maze that just blew people's minds. The city could stand against any foe from the outside. But the wound that would start the long, slow death of the empire, well, it didn't come from an enemy. It came from supposed allies. A betrayal so shocking, it crippled them forever. This story of how this happened is just, it's almost too absurd to believe. It starts with the Fourth Crusade. An army shows up in Venice, but whoops, they can't afford to pay for the ships to the Holy Land. So the Venetians, always looking for a deal, say, okay, sack this rival city for us and we'll call it even. Then an exiled Byzantine prince shows up and says, hey, forget that. Put me on the throne in Constantinople and I'll pay off everyone's debts. Well, the whole plan goes sideways, the prince gets himself killed, and the Crusaders, now broke and furious, turn their anger on Constantinople itself. What followed was a complete catastrophe. For 3 days, a Christian army looted, burned, and desecrated the greatest Christian city in the world. They stole priceless relics, melted down ancient statues. It was horrific. The empire survived technically, but it was never the same. It was left a hollowed-out, broken shadow of its former glory. So now, let's fast forward 2.5 centuries. This weakened, fragile empire is about to face its final epic test, a siege that would bring the thousand-year story of Rome to a violent, definitive end. This was the ultimate showdown. On one side, you have the ancient Theodosian walls, a defensive system that had never, ever been breached in 1,000 years. And on the other side, a terrifying new technology that was about to change warfare for good. This thing was the game changer. The Ottoman Sultan, a brilliant young guy named Mehmed II, hired an engineer to build him a supergun. They called it Basilica. It was a monster cannon, so huge it took 60 oxen just to move it. It fired these enormous stone balls with one single purpose, to do the impossible and smash those ancient walls to pieces. And after 53 brutal days of nonstop bombardment, the cannons did their job. The walls were breached. A surgeon who was there, an eyewitness, he captured the horror of it all. He said the blood in the streets flowed like rainwater after a storm. On that day, the last Roman emperor died fighting on those very walls. And with his death, the Roman Empire, the true, unbroken line stretching all the way back to Augustus Caesar, was finally, completely over. But the story doesn't just stop there, because the death of this one city, it sent shockwaves out across the globe. Shockwaves that actually helped build the modern world we're all living in today. Think about the domino effect. The city falls, so scholars flee, and they take all these priceless ancient Greek manuscripts with them to Italy, helping to kickstart the Renaissance. The old Silk Road trade routes, now they're cut off, so European powers are forced to find new sea routes to Asia, which launches the Age of Discovery. And for 1,000 years, Byzantium had been a giant library, a vault preserving all this knowledge from Greece and Rome that would have been totally lost otherwise. And here's a fantastic little detail. The crescent moon? It was an ancient symbol of the city of Byzantium, of Constantinople. After conquering the city, Mehmed II adopted it for his own flag. And over the centuries, that symbol of a fallen Christian capital slowly became one of the most recognized symbols of Islam in the world. The echoes of this lost empire are absolutely everywhere. We're going to end with this haunting question. It was written by a historian who watched his home, his entire world, get destroyed in 1204. He's asking the walls themselves this question. It brings us right back to those melancholy ruins where our story began. It's just this powerful cry for a world that was completely lost. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? The story of Byzantium proves that entire worlds, entire 1,000-year histories can be paved over and forgotten. But their echoes are still shaping our lives. So what other ghosts are just waiting to be found right beneath the surface of the world we see every day?